I sensed the tension the moment they came near. One on each side of me, like bookends bracketing the night. The taller one leaned in, his cologne stirring something deep in my senses as he signaled for another round. The other regarded me with quiet focus, his smile reaching his eyes in a way that made my pulse race. I hadn't planned on company tonight, but as they settled beside me, I knew this evening wouldn't be as solitary as I had imagined. There was something magnetic about them, an unspoken pull that drew me in. I sipped my drink slowly, letting the warmth curl through my chest as our dialogue deepened. "We have a suite upstairs," the taller one mentioned, voice smooth, gaze locked with mine. "Care to continue this conversation somewhere with a bit more privacy?" Before we go on, if you're enjoying this story, please take a quick second to like the video and hit subscribe. It helps the channel grow and ensures you never miss what's coming next. Now let's return to where things were just heating up. The chandelier above scattered golden light across the marble bar, illuminating the amber swirls in my third cocktail. I hadn't meant to indulge quite so much, but after nailing my pitch to the board earlier today, I was in a celebratory mood. 4 days of prep, countless dry runs, and now success. The stress that had weighed on my shoulders for weeks finally began to melt away. "Another Manhattan for the lady," the bartender said, pulling me from my musings. I smiled and tapped the side of my glass. "Why not? It's not every day you seal a 7-figure agreement." He gave me a nod and turned to make the drink. That's when I noticed them. 2 men at the far end of the bar, both in sharp suits that hinted at wealth without screaming it. One of them caught my gaze and raised his glass in a gesture that was both confident and questioning. I returned the silent cheers, feeling a flutter deep in my stomach. I wasn't normally this forward, but tonight had a different energy. Maybe it was the lingering adrenaline of success. Or maybe just Miami's sultry air loosening my usually well-guarded edges. Either way, when they approached shortly after, I didn't pretend to scroll through my phone. "Mind if we join you?" the taller one asked. His voice was richer than I expected, a striking contrast to his carefully styled hair and clean-shaven jaw. "I'm Leo," he said. "And I'm Daniel," added the other, his smile quieter but somehow more sincere. "We couldn't help noticing, you're celebrating something." I shifted to make room between them. "Ava. And yes, I just closed a deal I've been chasing for months." "Then we're honored to join the celebration," Leo said, waving over the bartender. "Whatever the lady's drinking, plus our usual." From there, the exchange flowed with surprising ease. Leo turned out to be a finance executive, full of stories about high-stakes negotiations that echoed my own. Daniel, the more reserved of the two, was an architect whose passion lit up every time he described his projects. With both of them, I found myself laughing more freely than I had in ages. The weight of boardrooms and briefings lifted with each passing minute. "So, what brings 2 successful gentlemen to a hotel bar on a Thursday night?" I finally asked, curiosity tugging at me. They exchanged a glance, clearly sharing some unspoken joke. "We've been friends since college," Daniel explained, running his finger along the rim of his glass. "Whenever work brings us to the same city, we try to catch up." "Happens more often than you'd guess," Leo added with a grin. "Though tonight's meeting turned out far more interesting than we anticipated." Several rounds later, the once bustling bar had quieted, leaving only a few scattered patrons in the dim lighting. The intimacy of the setting seemed to draw us closer. Leo's hand would brush against mine now and then when reaching for his drink, while Daniel's eyes lingered when I spoke, giving me his full, undivided attention. "So Ava," Leo leaned in, his voice dropping to a confidential murmur. "Daniel and I have the presidential suite upstairs. Gorgeous view of the ocean. Interested in continuing the celebration there?" I paused. The rational voice inside reminded me of early morning meetings, professional lines, things I usually never crossed. But another part of me, a part long starved for connection, for spontaneity, was louder tonight. Daniel must have sensed my hesitation. "Just one more drink," he said gently, his gaze sincere. "We've got a fully stocked bar, and honestly, the view is worth the trip alone." I looked at them, handsome, charismatic, and somehow familiar despite being strangers. That voice of caution whispered again, but my curiosity and desire pushed it aside. "One drink," I said, setting down my glass. And I want to see this view you keep hyping. The elevator ride was brief but charged. Leo stood behind me, his breath teasing my neck, while Daniel pressed the top floor button, his fingers brushing mine. Neither man made a direct move, yet I felt completely surrounded. The suite was everything they'd promised. Huge windows looked out over the sparkling city fading into the Atlantic. The living room was larger than my apartment, designed for both luxury and comfort. "What's your poison?" Leo asked, heading to the bar cart. "Surprise me," I replied, slipping off my heels and walking toward the balcony doors. "Pick something that suits the view." The night air wrapped around me, warm, carrying hints of salt and sea. Far below, the hotel pool glowed like a jewel. Beyond that, the ocean stretched endlessly. Beautiful, isn't it? Daniel appeared beside me, offering a glass of amber liquid. Leo mixes a strong old-fashioned. I accepted the drink, our fingers brushing lightly. "It's stunning." "Yes," he said. But when I turned, his eyes weren't on the view. They were on me. That warmth I felt wasn't just from the whiskey. For a while, we stood together silently, watching moonlight glitter on the water. "So how do two longtime friends end up sharing the best suite in the building?" I eventually asked. Daniel smiled and took a sip. "Leo's firm is paying for it. I'm designing their new headquarters." "So perks of the gig?" "And we coordinated our schedules," he added. "We always try to. After 20 years, friendship like ours deserves the effort." Inside, soft jazz began playing. I glanced back to see Leo adjusting the speakers, jacket gone, sleeves rolled to reveal toned forearms. He caught my eye through the glass and lifted his drink in invitation. Back inside, the air conditioning raised goosebumps on my skin. I nestled into the velvet couch, suddenly aware I was alone with two near strangers, and that I didn't feel uneasy at all. Leo noticed my slight shiver. "Too cold. Just the shift from outside," I said, taking another sip for courage. Daniel took the nearby armchair, his posture relaxed, eyes never straying far from me. "So, powerful woman landing million-dollar deals. No one waiting for you back home?" he asked. I laughed softly. "Just my cat. He's probably happier with the sitter." "No relationship?" Leo arched a brow. "Divorced. 2 years now." I didn't know why I shared that, but it felt right. He couldn't handle my ambition. Wanted a wife, not a partner. "His mistake," Daniel said simply, his tone full of conviction. "Absolutely," Leo echoed, his hand resting behind me on the couch, close enough to sense but not quite touch. The air changed. A current passed between us. Jason's knee occasionally brushed mine. Daniel leaned in whenever I spoke, as if every word deserved his full attention. "What about you two?" I asked, steering the spotlight. "I imagine you don't lack for companionship." They traded another one of those wordless looks, something long-earned. "We do all right," Leo smirked. "Though real connection's harder to find than you'd expect," Daniel added thoughtfully. "This kind of life, it takes a certain understanding." "You seem to understand perfectly," Leo said, his voice lower now. I took another drink, my pulse matching its warmth. "I do." The space between us felt electric, a charged invitation waiting to be accepted. I could feel myself leaning into it. "So," I said, setting down my glass and turning toward them. "What exactly are we celebrating?" Leo's grin was slow and deliberate. "Whatever you'd like." My gaze shifted to Daniel. His expression was serious but open. "Your win," he said. "And whatever this is." I stood and wandered toward the window. My reflection shimmered against the cityscape. A woman on the edge of choosing. I turned. "I think we should celebrate properly. Don't you?" Leo stepped in, his hand settling on my waist. "Are you certain?" The question held layers: respect, desire, sincerity. "I'm sure." His lips met mine, firm and practiced, igniting something I hadn't let myself feel in years. When we broke apart, I was breathless. Awake. Daniel moved in more slowly, brushing my hand, asking without words. When he kissed me, it was deliberate and reverent, and I melted into it. They made their way with me to the bedroom, where walls of glass framed the skyline and the king-sized bed promised something unforgettable. "We can stop anytime," Daniel murmured, tracing my collarbone. "I don't want to," I whispered, already loosening the buttons on his shirt. Leo moved behind me, gently lifting my hair to kiss the nape of my neck. Tell us what you like, he murmured, voice thick with anticipation. What followed was not just passion, it was discovery. Leo's confident hands guided, while Daniel's focused care explored. They moved as if choreographed, keeping me at the center. As my dress slipped to the floor, Daniel steadied me, eyes full of awe. You're stunning, he whispered. Absolutely, Leo agreed, leading me to the bed. As they undressed, their physiques mirrored their personalities. Leo solid and commanding, Daniel lean and intense. The rest was a blur of sensation. Each man attuned to my reactions, alternating rhythm and focus, letting me experience every moment completely. Daniel's gentleness grounded me when Leo's drive swept me up, and vice versa. Is this okay? Daniel whispered as we moved together, bodies in sync. Perfect, I gasped. Jason kissed across my collarbone while Daniel held my gaze, their attention unwavering. They took turns, always returning to me, amplifying and balancing each other. I lost myself in waves of feeling I hadn't known I was capable of. Eventually we collapsed, tangled and content. Leo's arm across my hips, Daniel curled behind me. Stay, Daniel murmured, lacing his fingers with mine. I nodded, smiling into the dark. Morning came softly through the curtains. The bed beside me was empty, but I heard murmured voices in the suite. I found them at the table, shirtless, relaxed over coffee and breakfast. You're right on time, Leo said, pulling out a chair. We ordered everything. The food was a spread. I reached for fruit, still in a daze. Sleep okay? Daniel asked, handing me a cup prepared exactly as I liked it. Better than I have in ages, I smiled. We chatted easily, no awkwardness, no shame. Just warmth. When I finally stood to leave, they both walked me to the door. This was, I began. Unforgettable, Daniel said, kissing my cheek. Unexpected, Leo added, squeezing my waist. Thank you, I said. In the elevator, I noticed the slip of paper Daniel had tucked into my hand, both their numbers and 2 words. Until next time. As I prepped for my final meeting, I saved their numbers, a smile tugging at my lips. Have you ever taken a risk that changed how you see yourself? Did you follow that feeling, or let it pass? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new post. Thanks for sharing this experience with me. I'll see you in the next story.